So guys, before I proceed on to the next question, I would like to tell a kind of trick which can be useful in solving some questions. So let's look at that first. So for example, we have two people who are riding a bike, who are riding a car, who are walking, bicycle, whatever. So they are traveling, right? And let's suppose that one person is traveling with a speed of v1, right? So there are two people. For example, this person A is traveling with a speed of v1 miles per hour, let's suppose, right? And there is a person B who's traveling with a speed of v2 miles per hour, right? So there are two people, A and B. They can be riding a bicycle, car, walking, whatever. So one is going with a speed of v1 miles per hour, and the other is going with the speed of v2 miles per hour, right? Uh, let's suppose that the person A is somewhere over here, right? And the person B is somewhere over here, right? And let's suppose that the distance between them is D. Let's suppose that the distance between them is D. So D is the distance between A and B, right? We know that the speed of A is how much? V1. The speed is V1, and the speed of B is how much? V2. So I hope this should be clear. So A is going with the speed of V1, B is going with the speed of V2, and the distance between A and B is D, right? So now if the question says, how much time will A take to catch up with B? So the question is, how much time will A take to catch up with B? So this is the question that we have, that how much time will A take, because A is behind, right, and B is ahead. So how much time will A take to catch up with B? Because both have different speeds, there is some distance. So obviously A will take some time to catch up with B. So how much time will A take? So the formula for this, I mean, you can kind of, use logic and solve it, but in exams, obviously you don't have that much amount of time that, you try to use logic and then do the calculations and then come up with the answer. So it's always better to, kind of understand and then memorize it. So the formula for this is, the time is equals to the distance upon, what is distance? Distance is the distance between A and B, right? So the distance between the 2 points upon the difference in speed. So this becomes a pretty important formula, I would say. So the time which A will take to catch up with B, right, or to come along with B, will be the distance between them upon the difference in speed. So you can say it that time is equals to D. In this case, the distance is D upon V1 minus V2. V1 minus V2. I mean, whichever is greater. If V1 is greater than V1 minus V2, if V2 is greater than V2 minus V1, so the time becomes D, which is the distance upon the difference in speed, that is V1 minus V2. So this is one pretty important formula or concept, whatever you call it, which you should know so that you can solve any such question pretty quickly in the exam. So kind of write it down somewhere and memorize it. And yeah, so I hope this should be clear. So let's move on to the next question, guys. This question is based on the previous formula which I told you. So I'll read out the question first. So John and Jacob set out together on bicycle, traveling at 15 and 12 miles per hour respectively. After 40 minutes, John stops to fix a flat tire. So after 40 minutes, John stops for 1 hour to fix the flat tire, and Jacob continues to ride during that time. how many hours will it take John to catch up Jacob, assuming he is riding at the same speed, right? So we are given that John is traveling at 15 miles per hour, Jacob is traveling at 12 miles per hour. After 40 minutes, John stops for 1 hour, and Jacob continues to drive. Uh, and we have to tell in how much time will John will be able to catch up with Jacob, right? So tell me one thing. Firstly, they were traveling, right? Firstly, they were traveling for 40 minutes. So let's take the scenario of 40 minutes first. So John was traveling at 15 miles per hour. So if we talk about how much distance did John travel in 40 minutes? So for John, the distance is how much? Distance is speed into time. So what was the speed? Speed was 15 miles per hour, right? So 15 miles per hour. So if you convert hour into minutes, this becomes 60. Like 15 miles upon 1 hour. So 1 hour is 60 minutes. So this is the speed. And how much time are we talking about? We're talking about 40 minutes. So into 40. This will give us the distance, because distance is equals to speed into time, right? So how much will this be? This becomes 10 miles. So that means in 40 minutes, John has traveled a distance of 10 miles, right? Now let's talk about Jacob. So similarly for Jacob, Jacob travels at a speed of 12 miles per hour. So this becomes 12 miles upon 1 hour. 1 hour is 60 minutes, right? Into the time is 40 minutes, right? Into 40. So this comes out to be 8. So 8 miles, right? So that means in 40 minutes, John has traveled a distance of 8 miles, and Jacob has traveled a distance of 10 miles, and Jacob has traveled a distance of 8 miles, right? Okay. So if we draw the diagram over here, for example, so for example, initially both of John and Jacob were here, right? Let's suppose after 40 minutes, where is John? John is at 10 miles, right? So, for example, this is 10 and this is 8. So, Jacob is over here, and John is over here, right? And how much will this distance be? This will be 8. Because in 40 minutes, Jacob has traveled 8 miles. So, from here to here, this is Jacob. This will be 8 miles, right? And in the same 40 minutes, John has traveled 10 miles. So from here to here, John has traveled 10 miles. So if this is 8, this is 10, so obviously this will be 2. I hope this is very simple, right? Okay. So this is the picture after 40 minutes. So after 40 minutes, Jacob is at a distance of 8 miles and John is at a distance of 10 miles from the starting position, right? Now, they are saying that after 40 minutes, this is the position till 40 minutes, right? After 40 minutes, John stops for 1 hour. So, that means John stays over here. So, after 40 minutes, John is over here, right? But Jacob continues to travel. So, Jacob was traveling at a speed of how much? 12 miles per hour. So, in the next 1 hour, how much will he travel? So, Jacob was traveling at a speed of 12 miles per hour, right? So in 1 hour, the distance traveled by Jacob will be how much? Speed into time. So 12 miles per hour into 1, which is 12. So distance traveled by Jacob in 1 hour will be 12 miles. I hope this is simple, right? So basically, in the next 1 hour, Jacob will travel 12 miles and John is still over here because John had stopped, right? So let's suppose that Jacob now is somewhere over here because Jacob was traveling. So Jacob is somewhere over here now, right? So we know that Jacob has traveled how much? Total of 12 miles, and this is 2. So how much will this be? This will be 10. Very simple. I hope this should be absolutely clear. Because Jacob was initially here, right? And then he reached here. So he traveled a total of 12 miles. And this is already 2. So this will be 10. Now, the question is saying, how many hours will John take to catch up with Jacob? So right now, John is over here, Jacob is over here. The distance between them is 10 miles, and we have to calculate how much time will John take to catch up with Jacob. So this becomes exactly the same thing which we talked about the formula. So we know time is equals to how much? Distance upon difference in speed. Difference in speed, right? So how much is the distance? The distance is 10 between John and Jacob. The distance is 10, right? What is the difference in speed? How much is John's speed? John's speed is 15. And how much is Jacob's speed? 12. So difference in speed will be 15 minus 12, which is 3. So that becomes 3. So the time becomes 10 upon 3, which is how much? 3.33 hours. So this is a final answer. So how many hours will John take to catch up with Jacob? John will take 3.33 hours to catch up with Jacob. So the point over here is that John was here, Jacob was here, the distance between them was 10 miles, and we had to find how much time will John take to catch up with Jacob. So what we did is the division of the distance between them upon the difference in speed. So distance is 10, the difference in speed is 15 minus 12, which is 3. So 10 upon 3, which gives 3.33. So I hope this should be clear.